note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone and welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly. This is Grizzly True Crime and we are back talking about the Delphi case. I'm sure many of you have been following along as we've looked at just about, every bit of back and forth that's gone on in this case, and it's all very interesting. If you missed my video, I uploaded a video for you yesterday. It actually premiered yesterday, and it was the state prosecutor's clapback, as I'm calling it, because the defense attorneys who were reinstated filed a motion to ask that the judge be disqualified or recuse herself, so she'll have to make that decision. And then before close of business, the state prosecutor filed a motion saying that he wants to hold them in contempt of court. So it's a very dramatic case at this point, my word. And yeah, today's going to be no different, hearing what the in-between attorney, I can't now say former attorneys, I've got to say, because there's the former attorneys, the original ones. Then there were some replacement ones. Now the original ones are reinstated. So those ones in between, one of them has something to say. And so we're going to be listening to a clip of that. Okay, let me first say welcome to everyone. So welcome to all my moderators. Thank you so much for everything you do. Welcome to all my patrons, members, subscribers, even all the lurkers, okay? And if you haven't subscribed yet, if you're brand new here, I hope that you will consider subscribing and becoming part of this community. Okay, so if you know nothing about this case, I'm probably going to read a quick article here so we're all up to speed, because some of you might have missed either the latest live stream or maybe you missed the latest video. And I think we kind of need to be on the same page before we dive into the interview that we're going to look at today. What I do want to say is this is, of course, it's on Court TV. It's, of course, a small clip that's probably part of a much larger interview. So I'm very excited to see the rest of the interview. But this clip is so surprising. I don't want to say controversial, surprising. That we're going to look at it together. And then as more comes out, we'll discuss that as well. Welcome, Ellen, and thank you to all my members for supporting the work that I do. And thank you so much to everyone who's sending me PayPals. That's the number one way to support the work I do. I appreciate it so much, and for all the coffees, because I need coffee always, okay? I work very hard, long hours, and I love coffee. So thank you so much. All right, yeah, Stefan. Stefan says, sorry, Joanna, I just wanted to click on Stefan's one. Thank you for your comment. Stefan says, don't watch Court TV when you're a juror. I know, right? Stefan was obviously there. At today's earlier premiere, I had put together for all of you all the highlights of this latest Alec Murdaugh hearing, because it was very entertaining. Like, my goodness, I could watch that all again. So I watched as much as I could of the entire 8 hours and then defluffed it, which got it to about 4 hours. And then, picked all the very best clips so that you can just catch up in no time there if you don't have time to watch the entire hearing, okay? So I hope you'll check it out. Sweet Dude Shibby says, I like how G says lurker. It sounds better with her accent. Hi, lurkers. All right. So before we look at this interview, let me quickly first read this one. Okay? We'll read this little article because it will be a good recap for all of us, okay? We've done lots of deep dives, so the playlist is linked in the description box for you, and I would highly recommend checking it out. I've even made a Delphi case file for you, which was everything chronological, as in all the press conferences, media interviews, family interviews, everything in chronological order, and it went all the way until they arrested the suspect, Richard Allen. By the way, I've got a poll up. And so before I dive into this article, I asked, who do you suspect committed this crime, in your opinion so far? Okay, so it's perfectly safe to answer. It's just your opinion so far, okay? Don't be scared to click one of those options. Okay, so 20% said that you suspect it's Richard Allen alone. 27% so far said Richard Allen and others. 16% said not Richard Allen, someone else. And 36% said not Richard Allen, a group of others. Oh my goodness. That's right, Stefan. I even gave you guys a sniffle-free press conference. Yes, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just check out the playlist, okay? You'll see. Now, Delphi, Indiana. That's where we're going today. That's where this case takes place, and my goodness, it's been a lot. Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McClellan filed a motion late Monday asking the attorneys for Delphi murder suspect Richard Allen to be held in contempt of court. McClellan's 8-page motion is the latest in a series of 15 months of legal punches and counter-punches. See, that's when I say back and forth, look how they word it there. Legal punches and counter-punches. Very unfortunate, right? Okay, so in Monday's motion, McClellan asks for a hearing to force Allen's attorneys, Brad Rosie and Andrew Baldwin, to show why they should not be held in contempt for their alleged repeated violation of the court's gag order. Speaking of the gag order, I would love to know how McClellan feels about this attorney who has just filed a motion to withdraw because the other attorneys were reinstated. How does he feel about him talking to the media now, huh? I don't think he's happy about it. Is he going to get scolded? Is Judge Gull going to say anything to her buddy, William Lebrato, huh? For speaking out? Like, why are you saying all this to the media? I'm sure they must be like, what are you doing? Because they were complaining about the defense attorneys speaking to the press and having that little press release before the gag order was even officially in place. So the gag order is in place, and the attorney that's now spoken out, who's no longer working on the case, right? William Lebrato, well, now he's not subject to he's not bound by the gag order now. So he can talk, but I don't think they're going to be happy with him, right? Wow, Veronica says, can't believe it's been a year. Thank you so much. That's cool. That's a cool milestone. 1 year of membership. Thank you. All right, so they say, and of course that's why it was a counter punch, basically. Richard Allen, right, was arrested October 26th of 2022 on suspicion of killing teenagers Libby German and Abby Williams on February 13th of 2017. He was charged on October 28th, 2022 with 2 counts of murder in the commission of kidnapping. Earlier this month, McClellan filed 2 additional counts of murder and 2 counts of kidnapping against Allen. So if you've been following this closely with me, you'll know all of this and you might be like, move on, Grizzly. But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page because there's many things here that have happened recently that maybe you missed. Did you know that the day that they had that Supreme Court of Indiana hearing, that's the day McClellan, right before it happened, like half an hour before, he filed for these 2 additional counts of murder and kidnapping against Richard Allen. One could also say he did add, but like tweaked the charge instead of open murder or felony murder, whatever it's called under the one Indiana code, which was more like kidnapping. Now it's also definitely murder charges. Okay, so Allen's attorneys, this is Nicholas McClellan. Allen's attorneys have been chided by Special Judge Francis Gull and dismissed over Allen's objections from the case on October 31st, 2023, as she publicly described Rosie and Baldwin as grossly incompetent and grossly negligent. But the Indiana Supreme Court overruled Gull's decision after the January 18th hearing and ordered Rosie and Baldwin reinstated. It's very interesting how people feel like if there's an opinion that Judge Gull, that her conduct has been a little bit questionable, to say the least, people sometimes get upset with it, but like, did they forget that this went to the Supreme Court of Indiana and they've literally overruled on what Judge Gull had already ruled? And it's happened twice now already, right? Okay. So let's have a look where we are here. What followed in the 11 days since that Supreme Court hearing, has been a string of allegations from Allen's defense and the prosecutor, as well as a court order denying 2 defense motions without a hearing. Right now, I do have a comment that someone left that said, and thank you to Capri Corpse for your comment. You said this is the motions that she denied, right? The motion for a Franks hearing. She told the new attorneys, William Lebrato and Robert Scremen, that yes, they can have that hearing, and they were preparing for it, and you're going to hear it in that interview that we're going to look at, okay? It's a very short clip, not the full interview. But she said, I'll hear you out. But now that the former attorneys are reinstated, all pending motions denied. Now, what is a Franks hearing? So this commenter said, Capricorps, I've had so many people ask me what a Franks memorandum is while discussing this case over on X. If you're here, you probably already know, but if you don't, it basically is a filing where the defense challenges the truth of the information that supports a search warrant. Example, did an officer lie whilst obtaining a search warrant? It is the legal document given to the judge that sets forth the defendant's request for a hearing and the specific challenges that the defendant has. This type of hearing is usually conducted after a search and seizure has taken place. So, if the defense is successful at the hearing, then the judge will throw out all of the evidence or some that was seized under the warrant. Judge Gull, not caring to read or unwilling to take any action on the Franks memorandum, and that was for months, as we saw in the recent live stream we did, shows me, personally, she has some sort of bias here. Yes. Teresa says, what is Nick's problem? Just try the damn case. I know, right? Say it, Teresa. Exactly. Now, they said defense counsel Rosie accepts responsibility for a lapse in security that caused the photos to be leaked. We've gone over all that so much, okay? McClellan cited several statements made by Rosie and Baldwin starting December 1st, 2022 with a news release that was published before a formal gag order was in place. However, Rosie and Baldwin earlier assured Gull and McClellan that a gag order was not necessary since they would not make such statements. Gull issued a gag order on December 2nd of 2022. I think the rest we pretty much know, okay? They said as of Tuesday afternoon, Gull has not published an order for a hearing date. So, there's lots, you get the gist. There's lots to catch up on if you haven't yet. We have covered all of this, okay, along the way. So just check out the playlist and you'll find everything there. Just wanted to give you a little hint of, if you've missed out in the last, week or two even, sure, it's been busy, okay? Now, let me show you this one, which I see everyone is like, what? Even me, when I saw this, I'm like, what? Immediately reposted this on X and I'm like, everybody, what did he just say? Okay, so we're going to first read this little article and then we're going to watch the clip. And I'd love to see what you guys say, right? Mandy Ray says, Slicky knows his case is total BS. Slick Nick. Who came up with that name first? Slick Nick. I've heard other names for him too, online. Yeah, sometimes I'm lurking there, in the Delphi community, as I say, like everyone discussing Delphi. Wow, there's some very interesting views out there, right? Okay, so Indianapolis Court TV. As the Indiana Supreme Court heard oral arguments for and against Richard Allen's original defense team, Allen's then lead defense attorney, Bill, so his name is William Lebrato, but Bill Lebrato sat in the courtroom texting Allen's wife, Kathy. So let's just pause it there. T. Hoppy, oh my goodness, thank you so much. A $50 super sticker. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Stefan's like, Slick Nick, yeah. Slick Nick. As I say, I've heard other names too. I'm not going to say them here. I'm not going to say them. Welcome to Neverless True Crime. I don't see you in chat, but I see people greeting you. Welcome. I watched your video too today. It's nice to see you back. Okay. So, this is what he said. Okay, as the Indiana Supreme Court heard oral arguments, right? There at the Supreme Court of Indiana. Allen's then lead defense attorney, so that was William Lebrato, sat in the courtroom texting Richard Allen's wife, Kathy. When I found out that the other attorneys were reinstated, which would be Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin. Okay. I let her know right away. He tells me by phone the day after the Supreme Court hearing and swift ruling on January 18th. She really wanted to be there. I wasn't completely surprised by yesterday. I didn't really like the way it happened, he says. So this is from Barbara McDonald that's writing this when it says that he told her, right? Barbara McDonald. Okay. From the Down the Hill podcast, and I think she's a producer at Court TV now, and a great journalist as well. So, yes, that is who managed to get this exclusive interview, which I can't wait to see more of. All right, so Hippie at Heart says, praying RA makes it to trial. And you've been a member for 25 months. My goodness. Oh, my word. Thank you so much. Okay, Lebrato, like the general public, had to apply for a ticket to be let into the hearing in the courtroom inside Indiana's state capitol. He says the tickets given to the Indiana Public Defender Council, which he's a member of, were given to other attorneys. Wow. Oh, okay. The High Court's decision came less than 4 hours after the hearing wrapped. So Barbara, right? Can you share with me how Kathy responded to the court's ruling? Lebrato. She didn't comment about the other attorneys being reinstated. She just expressed her gratitude to me, Robert, and Susie. Lebrato is referring to co-counsel Robert Scremen and investigator Susie Muller. Did you ever talk with Richard Allen about his desire to reinstate Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin? Lebrato. We never really addressed who he wanted as his lawyers, nor did he ever say, I don't want you guys, I want my old lawyers. Nor did he ever say, I don't want my old lawyers, I want you guys. I know that was probably Mr. Allen's wishes on October 11th, but I can't say that remained the same up until yesterday. Interesting to hear all of that as well, because from the outside looking in, right, from our perspective, it's as if he's been saying it very loud and clear, especially in that letter that he wrote on October 11th, that he absolutely wants Bradley Rosie and Andrew Baldwin to be his attorneys, right? Okay, so they said Lebrato is referencing a typed letter dated October 11th, 2023, given to Special Judge Fran Gull. It was signed by Richard Allen and urged Gull not to take action against his appointed public defenders, Rosie and Baldwin. The attorneys had been notified by Gull the day before to stop working on the case after the leak of sensitive crime scene photos, and a hearing was then set for October 19th in Gull's Allen County courtroom. A contentious debate in Gull's chambers hours before that hearing ended with Rosie and Baldwin off the case and set up the legal battle that ended in the Supreme Court. That's horrible that even had to happen, right? Okay. And Jeanette says, Indiana isn't really a what-if kind of state. You'll never convince most of them that it's not him. I'm a Hoosier too. Okay. MB Inc., it's so nice to see you. You said it isn't easy keeping up with these proceedings and what is what. Right? Oh man, okay. Nevertheless True Crime says the poll says it all. What is the poll saying right now? Yeah, 39% are voting, majority votes, not Richard Allen, a group of others is who you suspect is responsible for this crime. So we'll just, if you haven't voted yet and you're only joining now, good timing, because we're still just reading through this and then we're going to watch the video clip, okay? And I'm sure there's more where this came from. So here they said, it ended in the Supreme Court, which, that's a big deal. So, yeah, it went there. That's very important to acknowledge that this is not just, people having an opinion about Judge Gull or being snarky or something or not seeing both sides. It's like, it went to the Supreme Court of Indiana and they literally overruled on something that Judge Gull had ruled on. Something huge, reinstating those former attorneys. My goodness. Okay. He didn't write the letter. Mr. Rosie prepared the letter and had Mr. Allen sign. It is my understanding it was typed, and I'm assuming Mr. Allen doesn't have access to a computer or a typewriter in the Department of Corrections. I'm going to have to revisit that again. In my mind, because I visualize everything. I feel like I saw a written letter, but maybe that one was typed. Perhaps. I remember his written letter. I remember when Richard Allen first said that he'll find his own attorneys. And then he threw himself at the mercy of the court saying, okay, I can't afford it. Can you please find me some attorneys? That one was handwritten. Okay. So Lebrato says that he thinks that when Allen found out that his attorneys would be off his case, he may not have had the understanding or legal concepts to know that he would automatically be appointed other public defenders. Well, yeah, Judge Gull wouldn't even let him in the chambers. She wouldn't talk to him. She was like, no, I'm not comfortable with it. The DOC would not be comfortable with it. But why do you have to drive all the way there that day then? Be driven, be transported all that way, right? Anyway, and then just be like, yeah, I'm not going to talk to him. Shame. This guy didn't know. I know that he's the suspect, but keep him informed. You know what I mean? He's the one that's going to be on trial. So here they said he may be thinking that he and his wife were going to have to hire a private attorney, or he wasn't going to have representation. I don't know. But that's strictly my opinion, my belief, based on things I've seen and heard, Lebrato said. Okay. Wow, imagine Purple Amaryllis says, I'm thinking Baldwin will end up off the case and Rosie and Scremen will take it forward. Sure, that'll be so cool. I don't know, I just think that'll be so cool. Yes. Don't you like that idea, guys? I think, sure, imagine if it was Bradley Rosie and... Do you say Robert Scremen or William Lebrato? Which one? Huh? Which one are we talking about? Look, here's a lurker, everyone, coming out to say hi. You said, Jenny, hi, I've been a sub for a while, but never commented in chat like the updates. Thank you so much for commenting today. That's a big day. Okay. Rosie and Baldwin previously asserted in court filings that Allen's mental and physical condition had deteriorated after his arrest because of what they called his inhumane treatment in a maximum security prison as he awaits trial. All right, his mental health and physical health has improved from the very first time I saw him, October 31st of 2023. This is what Lebrato says. Okay? I mean, at that point, he looked extremely thin, pale, just didn't look good. He's gotten better. Lebrato says that Allen weighed 206 pounds at his arrest, dropping 122 pounds at his lowest. I guess he's off the beer now too, right? I think he drank a lot of beer, from my understanding. Sonic Teal says, what are the results of the poll, G? Love your channel. It's still going. Right now, there's 38% that voted that they believe the suspect or suspects in this case is not Richard Allen, but a group of others. Thank you for your sticker. Now, they said in a motion filed earlier this month to transfer Allen out of prison and house him in a county jail where most pretrial defendants are held, Lebrato's team asserted that Rosie and Baldwin's Odinist theory of the crime had merit. Man, okay, so what I do want to do, I don't want to bore you with too many articles here. Look here, they showed this the other day on Court TV because we've read documents before of how the attorneys, as in, now I have to say, I almost have to say former attorneys because the original ones are back on the case. It's been so confusing, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so Rosie and Baldwin are back on the case. So when I say former attorneys now, it's William Lebrato and Robert Scremen. They said when they went to this Wabash Correctional Facility, they couldn't even really talk face-to-face with Richard Allen. They had to be 6 feet apart from this little door, and they described talking through this little hole in the door, and now we could see it. And it's in like a kitchen area. I think it does look like a little kitchen area. Yeah, I don't think that's how one prepares for a trial. I don't think so. That's the thing as well. No one, is trying to like pamper Richard Allen or baby him. Just treat him like any other suspect waiting for his trial. Keep him safe like Adam Montgomery. Think about Adam Montgomery. Do you see him being thrown into a prison? Well, yes, for the other convictions. But, being treated like Richard Allen. No, just go to jail. You could be kept safe there. And then you wait for your trial, right? Okay. Adventures with Jackson, the guinea pig kid. Welcome to Grizzly supporter. So yeah, I just wanted to show you that here, I'm just going to mute this quickly because I think they just show us just the door. Yeah, they asked for another prison transfer. He's currently, there's Judge Gull. He's currently at the Wabash Correctional Facility. I'll actually quickly show you here because I just wanted to see how far is it because they're saying it's like 233 miles away. So here's the Carroll County Courthouse, okay, in Delphi, Indiana. And so he was at two other jails before and then was asked to be moved. So that's part of it as well. We've got to remember that they asked to move him. So yeah, that could be part of why he ended up being in a prison in the first place. But okay, he moved twice and then they put him in this Westville Correctional Facility and then later, or recently, moved him to this Wabash Valley Correctional Facility. I believe this is also where Kegan Kline was, but they've now since moved him. Like when Richard Allen got there, apparently they moved him. One might not have anything to do with the other, but who knows at this point, really, who knows? This case, honestly. Okay. So Ellen says, how about finding a new defendant, someone who fits anything? Yeah, how about? Thank you, Ellen. I really appreciate your sticker. So yeah, we got a little bit of map time going on here. We've done some map time on this case before. I just wanted to show you where he's currently at. So if I went to Wabash, 173 miles, okay? So why did they say 233 on the documents, you know what I mean? From where? From where? Maybe from the offices. Okay? So now let me show you the clip and then we could go back to the article just to clarify what was said there, but I can't wait to show you this. So here is Julie Grant. Okay, and she's got Barbara McDonald there with her. And then they show clips of William Lebrato, who, one more time to remind you, if you're only joining the stream now, was an interim attorney for Richard Allen, appointed by Judge Gull. And what's interesting is that William Lebrato is Facebook friends with Judge Gull. Okay, and we all thought, wow, you appointed your friends, what's going on here? What's happening here, Judge Gull? But anyway, he's since said that he agrees with the original attorneys that Richard Allen is not being treated right in prison, which many people say, oh, obviously going to say that. Defense attorneys would say that. Maybe. But I think they should look into it, you know? I think just make sure that he is safe, not being abused, look into it. He's saying that he thought initially that all this Odinist stuff was like hocus pocus, but he's now since obviously looked into it because he worked the case for a while, and he's like, it's real. And he said, while defense attorneys would say they believe their client is innocent, that's their job, right, is to defend their client. He said he truly believes that Richard Allen is innocent, which is very interesting. So let's listen to this, and I'm sure this is a tiny sliver of the big the big interview that's going to come out. I can't wait. I can't wait to see the rest of it because I'm sure it's going to be very interesting.
He's therefore no longer bound by the gag order. Court TV documentary producer Barbara McDonald was the only person that he spoke to, and she is on the couch with me this morning. A wonderful journalist you are, and really, I like to say you are our in-house expert on the Delphi cases. This is something you have researched, written about, done interviews on for many, many years.
Yeah.
So this is really quite a feather in your cap that he's talking exclusively to you, Barbara. Tell us what was the most stunning thing to you that he shared, please.
I think how emphatic he is in his belief that Richard Allen is innocent, not just not guilty, but that he's innocent of these charges and not involved at all, according to Bill Lebrato.
How's the sound? You guys, does it sound good, or you want me to boost it a bit? It sounds good, right? Let me know, okay? So it's just interesting. It's interesting if you think of the big picture of Judge Gull appointing William Lebrato and Robert Scremen to replace the attorneys that she seems to not be able to stand. I can't stand them, won't read their documents, won't hear them out, just get them out of my sight type of thing. So she appoints these two, and the two of them then start agreeing with those former attorneys, which are now back. Wow, that was just like, oh my word. Okay.
That was a bit surprising to me, you know, and I pushed back on that a bit. Like, you know, you're a defense attorney, that's your job, right? To say that. And he said he has handled murder cases. He's handled probably 100 murder cases in his career. And he says he doesn't say that very often. And he's never felt as strongly about a client's innocence as he does in this case.
Wow, Barbara, that says something. It really does. And the fact that you pushed him too, and you were like, well, you're not just saying your client's not guilty, you actually really believe that he's not guilty. And he even used the word innocent with you, not
innocent.
Going a step beyond.
Yes, 100% innocent is what he said.
Wow.
We also talked.
What do you guys think about that? Do you think that, like, come on, man, defense attorneys are obviously going to say that? Or now that he's no longer working the case, and, I mean, it's you know what I mean? Like, at the end, it sounds like he's actually singing Gull's praises, which is interesting, after all of this. Because it's like, I believe he's 100% innocent, and the Odinist theory or the Odinist practice is happening. And he's saying all these things which are contradictory to what it seems like obviously the state prosecutor is saying and all the drama that Judge Gull's been involved in, but then afterwards he sings her praises. So it's very, very interesting. But what do you think about him saying that he is not just saying it, that he 100% believes that Richard Allen is innocent? Sure. I think it holds quite a bit of weight, which is why I'm saying I think that the state prosecutor and probably Judge Gull, she's probably going to unfriend him on Facebook now. I think they might be upset by this interview.
Talked about a lot of other things connected to the case, including the theory of Odinism, that was floated by the original defense team. They've now been reinstated, but they said in some of their filings that they believe that white supremacist members of this Odinistic cult are responsible for the murders. And I asked him about that, and here's a little bit of what he had to say.
Here we go.
I thought it was hocus pocus.
There he is, William Lebrato, or Bill Lebrato. Billy. Billy, don't go. Okay, sorry. Focus. So here he goes. Now let's listen, because he says, I thought it was hocus pocus. I mean, many people did, right? But the thing is, it does exist. It's not just made up stuff. It does exist. And there are white supremacists that have hijacked Odinism. It doesn't mean that Odinists are white supremacists or the other way around. It's just that there is like a group of people that are white supremacists that have hijacked Odinism. and are practicing it in their own way, basically. But just listen to the things he says now. Are you ready? Here we go.
I honestly I'd never heard of it. And the more I got into it, that's a real thing. It is a real thing, and it's scary.
It's a real thing, and it's scary. But then wait, just wait. Hear what he says next.
In what way?
Well, I believe they sacrificed a girl and killed another one. Some of the people that live in Delphi were very brazen about their Odinistic beliefs on their Facebook pages and other social media accounts, including the sergeant who was in charge of keeping Mr. Allen safe in Westville.
Mm-hmm. Jennifer Fox is like, dang, oh my word, right? I mean, when he says, well, it's scary, he does actually look quite scared. He's being very brave then for speaking out. I think he's being brave in general for speaking out, don't you think? Because he'll probably know. I mean, law enforcement, no, everyone else has the gag order, right? So they can't speak up. But he can. So to actually do that, and again, well done to Barbara for securing this interview. Sure, but what he says is they sacrificed a girl and then they sacrificed another one. What? Sorry, what? Say that again? I mean, okay then. And remember, when there was actually names on that Frank's memorandum, right? Motion for Frank's memorandum. That memorandum, right? It was 136 pages or something. There were names there of these Odinists in Delphi that the defense maybe should have redacted their names. I agree with that. But those names were out there, and one of the guys was actually interviewed somewhere on YouTube. I can't even remember where, but I watched that. And he said, well, we don't sacrifice, like, girls, maybe just horses. He said something about horses, and I'm like, what? So hectic. All of it just sounds very hectic. But here, when he said it just like that, I'm like, sorry, what? Just like how he said that was just so interesting.
I believe they sacrificed a girl and killed another one. Some of the people that live in Delphi were very brazen about their Odinistic beliefs on their Facebook pages and other social media accounts, including the sergeant who was in charge of keeping Mr. Allen safe in Westville.
Man, so you know what? Do you guys remember when we were like patches? They're wearing Odinist patches at work? No way. And then they filed affidavits to say that they were. Now, what's interesting that he also is going to bring up is that he's saying that those correctional officers or prison guards were told not to wear those patches anymore. And now he's saying, but now the same guy has now got tattoos, which he thinks are Odinist tattoos under his right eye. But that makes me think, because I can't remember, do you remember if they moved that patch-wearing Odinist guy at the one prison? Did they move him to the Wabash Correctional Facility too? Because that's interesting too. Anyway, let's hear more.
You described one of those officers that's mentioned in one of Rosie and Baldwin's filings, Sergeant Jones, who was wearing patches that said, "In Odin we trust," on his Department of Corrections uniform.
Yep.
The judge ordered the warden to make them stop. And then what did you notice?
That Mr. Jones had it tattooed under his right eye. From the best we can tell, it looks a lot like Odin's spear. And he had several tattoos on his forearms, including the interlocking triangles that are on his Facebook post. I got to give credit to Mr. Rosie and Mr. Baldwin that, they picked up on that. We saw him, and, confinement officers at the Allen County Jail aren't even allowed to have facial hair, let alone facial tattoos. I was a little miffed that the warden allowed that, or he even knew what it was.
Yes. I was a little miffed about that. It is quite strange that at both prisons where Richard Allen has been held, they have these Odinist guys wearing patches and tattoos on their face. Like, okay, not the norm, I don't think. Maybe it's the norm there. I don't know. Is it the norm there, guys? I don't know about that. There were people in our chat before. Grizzly's in the chat saying that they worked in prisons and jails there in the area, and they're like, that's not normal. It's not supposed to be like that. So very odd, right? Okay, I don't want to miss your comments. I want to see what you guys are saying here. Okay, and also Witty Decent said, curious as to how much each attorney's teams were paid per hour. I'm also curious, and I'm very curious whether William Lebrato and Robert Scremen, were they paid immediately? Were they paid at all? Because we recently saw, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, in the live stream we did, we went over all the latest documents before McClellan filed his, and we went over that too in the video section. But in that, they were saying that the defense attorneys weren't paid for many months. They were practically begging to be paid, and Judge Gull just wouldn't sign off on those invoices, right? Okay, let's hear a little bit more.
That was one of the things that surprised me, too, is that it was the same guard, according to Bill Lebrato, that had the patch, was told to stop wearing it, and then comes to work with the tattoo under his eye.
Oh, Barbara, as I'm watching that, my jaw dropped. Something else that's interesting that you asked him about, when he's telling you he believes in that legal theory, he wasn't the first attorney to put it forward, as you know. It was the first set of defense attorneys who are now back, currently Richard Allen's defense attorneys, and as we know, attorneys don't always agree on a legal theory in a case. To me, that really says something, that there may be some substantive value in it. Your thoughts? Yeah,
and he said that, their defense strategy would have been probably a little bit different than Rosie and Baldwin, but not too different. They were also preparing a Frank's memo for a Frank's hearing, alleging that there were, problems with the information that was used to obtain.
See? Those attorneys were also preparing a Frank's motion to question the search warrant and the probable cause affidavit. Amy Lee says, I have no clue if he's innocent or guilty, but as a pagan, I can confirm we have never heard of the Odinist cult ever. But I'm sure you can't speak for all pagans, right? Right, Amy? I'm sure, right? And there's many things that maybe people didn't hear about, but they do exist. That's what's scary, especially because it's white supremacists hijacking a belief system and using it for their own purposes, like making it their own. And we've seen that happen in many different types of beliefs, right? So, okay. And Judge Gull said that she would hear out these attorneys, the ones that are now off the case, the ones that stepped in when Judge Gull dismissed the others. She would hear their Frank's motion, right? But not Bradley Rosie and not Andrew Baldwin. So honestly, it just continues. I wouldn't be surprised if the Supreme Court of Indiana has to take up more issues in this case. Ooh, and that's going to be intense if that happens, because the last hearing was already very intense, right? Okay.
Obtain the search warrant for Richard Allen's home. So it sounds like they were following a similar path, if not, not identical, but a similar path for sure.
Close, right? With the Odinism theory being at the heart, that someone else carried this out and that this brutal killing of those beautiful children was done by someone practicing Odinism.
Exactly, and that's what, I think when that first Odin memo dropped, we were all like, Odinism, what is that, right? And I think for a lot of people, it was that there's no way that could be true, and this is somebody who looked into it, who at first said, no, I don't buy that either. But then after getting into the case, he had it for 79 days as lead counsel, and he says there's something there.
You see? I think that holds a lot of weight as well, that he's like, he was first like, yeah, okay, start on a clean slate, let's look at this. And the more he looked at it, he's like, okay, there's something there, And obviously Odinism and Norse mythology, and is it Norse paganism and all of that, it does exist. I mean, when I went to Iceland last year, I heard a lot about that as well. Before this case and all of that, it's like, oh, okay, I should have paid more attention. But the thing is, it's not about that. This is about white supremacists, particularly in the prison system, is what I'm hearing. it's kind of almost like, it's like gang activity almost, right? So people react to the word cult. If they say white supremacist cult practicing Odinism, ooh, those are like trigger words. But if you think of it as possibly, potentially, because that's what the stats are reporting, in prisons, countrywide, maybe worldwide, right? We're just looking at America right now, because right now we're in Delphi, Indiana, right here. White supremacists hijacking a belief system and making it their own, kind of operating then like a gang, you know? Okay, but don't you think that's interesting that he's like, nah, Odinism, what is that? And the more he looked at it, he's like, oh, okay, it's definitely real. There's something there.
Wow. Barbara, I know that obviously as an attorney, any communications he had with Richard Allen, as you know, are privileged, but he can certainly describe, how he was doing in jail or what he saw. The appearance, I know, has been so stunning to so many people, the dramatic weight loss. Tell us what he shared with you about that.
He said that he is improving some mentally and physically, but that it is still very difficult for him. He dropped from 206 pounds at his arrest to about 122 pounds at his lowest. He says he's still probably in the 130 to 140 range, so definitely much lower than what he had been. He described him as calm, very soft-spoken, very engaged in his defense, and very kind and appreciative to the people working on his defense.
Wow. It sounds like even though there was so much disruption and we saw such a bitter legal battle playing out all the way up to the state Supreme Court, you were there, watching things. Even though that all happened, it seems that there was so much civility among these lawyers who were appointed for a brief time and then have left. It seems like there's no animosity, is there, between them and the original attorneys? Yeah,
he had high praise. He said if there's anything he can do to benefit them and their case, he's happy to take part in that. He feels that Richard Allen is in very capable hands, even though he would have liked to have stayed on the case. He said it's very rare that you get a high-profile case where you really believe your client is innocent, and that's where he was. But he says, he absolutely is willing to do whatever he can. I know that, legality-wise, it's a little dicey now at this point, but he wants to see Richard Allen get a fair trial. And he also believes that Judge Ron Gull is the secret to that fair trial. He thinks she's the right judge for this case.
That's where I'm like, wait, what? I was like, okay, like everything is really sounding... Sure, like, I don't know, my jaw dropped when I first saw it, but even more so when Barbara said that William Lebrato believes that Judge Gull is the right judge for this case, and that's the way for Richard Allen to get a fair trial. No, that's where I strongly disagree. I think she's the obstacle in his way to a fair trial, in my opinion. Sure. So that's interesting. I mean, he was friendly with her, friends with her, Facebook friends, whatever it is. He knows her, and I guess he's already stepped on 4 out of 5 toes, right? Let's not step on the big toe now. Still like she's the right judge. Yeah, I disagree with that though.
And now she's been appointed is it the chief judge in her division, Barbara? Wow, so which is a huge nod from her colleagues. I mean, that must...
Sorry, but you know what isn't a huge nod? The Supreme Court of Indiana overruling on something that Judge Gull ruled on. Yes, Jean says step 1, get rid of Gull.
Say so much about her.
He said she's one of the most qualified judges he's ever worked with. He's been arguing before her for 2 decades or more, and says she's absolutely the judge who's going to ensure that Richard Allen gets a fair trial, which is what he says he wants.
Yes.
Okay. How do you go from saying all of those things? How does William Lebrato say all of those things and at the end of it say, she's the right judge, and that's the way he's going to get a fair trial? Like, what?
And he certainly has that right, as you know. Barbara McDonald.
Okay, so let's continue reading the little article that I was reading here, because we got here, and there's still just a little bit more in here, because here he says he's worried about him getting a fair trial, which I didn't understand either based on his comments then about Judge Gull. We didn't see him say it himself, but I want to see that. I want to see him say it. Say it yourself. We'll probably see it at some point, right? When they release it all, I would guess. Suzanne says, I don't think Gull will recuse herself. Yeah, so... Okay, in Odin we trust. Rosie and Baldwin previously asserted in court filings that a group of white nationalist Odinists... Sorry, I'm like all small in the corner here. Okay, there we go. that white nationalist Odinists more likely killed Abigail Williams and Libby German, and that law enforcement failed to follow up on potential Odinist suspects. Honestly, when I first heard about it, and that these attorneys were going down this road, Lebrato said, I thought it was hocus pocus. I was wrong. I was 100% wrong. This is a real thing, and it's a dangerous thing. Lebrato says Allen has no ties to Odinism. I saw some comments earlier, but like, what if Richard Allen is an Odinist? We don't know if he is or isn't, but both sets of attorneys now have said he has no ties to Odinism. Would you be surprised if he has ties to Odinism? I don't think I'd be surprised. Anyway, so they said, Lebrato says Allen has no ties to Odinism. They searched all of his social media accounts, his computers, his phone. He has no ties to this cult whatsoever that they can establish, Lebrato said. Also important, there's very little digital evidence that they have, right? MB Inc. says, seems a weird way to explain that after all that has gone before the judge, before Judge Gull's watch. I know, right, MB Inc.? That was a weird one. I think it's almost like being so brave and saying so many things and then saying something nice about Gull at the end. I don't know. Forensic Fury says hocus pocus vibes. Now they say here, Lebrato, who was Allen's lead defense attorney for 79 days, admits that he hasn't been through all the discovery in the case, but says that he too saw evidence of Odinist prison guards in charge of Allen at the Westville Correctional Facility. It sounds pretty scary. Sergeant Randy Jones was one of the ones wearing "In Odin We Trust" patches on his Department of Correction uniform, said Lebrato. He was ordered to take that off. He then had a tattoo put on his face, and it's Odin spear. And he was in charge of watching Mr. Allen while he was, at Westville. Because I was thinking, are you talking about him? If they were, because the way that I heard the clip was almost like, are you saying that guy with the patches was also moved? But no, so that was at Westville. Wow, so it's a little bit like rebellious too. Like, you don't want me to wear my patches? I'm going to get a face tattoo. Like, okay. Or just dress appropriately for work. Because it is your job, after all. Right? Anyway, moving on. So they said, when I asked him whether Richard Allen would get a fair trial, now this is interesting. He said, it's going to be hard. Man, I want to know why. Immediately, I want to know why. Because if you're saying Judge Gull is an excellent judge, the perfect judge for this, and the way to a fair trial, then why do you think it's going to be hard for him to get a fair trial? Why? If Judge Gull is not the obstacle, then in William Lebrato's mind, what is the obstacle? Do tell, do tell. Is it the prosecutor? No, I don't know. I don't know what he's thinking there when he said when. So it says, when I asked him whether Richard Allen would get a fair trial, he responded, it's going to be hard. Okay. Glenda says, was her interview with temporary attorney done prior to Judge Gull dismissing all of the prior attorney's motions for hearings? No, I think it was just done. I think it was now, recent. Because now he has only recently filed that motion to withdraw, as in 2 or 3 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago. And now that he's officially withdrawn from the case because the others were reinstated, now he's no longer bound by the gag order. So this is very recent now. All right, so they said, you asked me last night if I thought my client committed this crime, and I do not, but that doesn't matter, he said. So of course now he's no longer his client, right? Lebrato says that he didn't follow the Delphi double murders case before being assigned to it last year. I deal with nothing but murder cases. I was just in the Supreme Court yesterday arguing a quadruple homicide I did here in Allen County that involved a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old child, and then their mother, and that got no publicity outside of Fort Wayne and Indianapolis. That is hectic. I mean, I haven't heard of that case. Have you? If you're local, did you hear about that case? Wow. Candy says that actually says a lot coming from lawyers Gull appointed to about Odinists, right? I mean, he's saying things about Odinists. Okay. He's saying that the way that Richard Allen is being treated in the prison is not right. And he's saying it's going to be hard for him to get a fair trial. So he's saying all the things, even though he said something nice at the end about Judge Gull, right? Maybe we've got to read between the lines there. So they said here, Lebrato says that he didn't follow it. Okay, we did that. But this one, I haven't heard of this case either. If you're local and you've heard about it, send it to me. Maybe we could have a look. The death penalty qualified, Lebrato describes Allen as calm, so Richard Allen, calm, soft-spoken, and totally respectful. Lebrato said he always shows gratitude for those working on his defense. His wife, Kathy, stands by him, Lebrato said as he questioned the timing of Allen's October 2022 arrest. There's something to the fact that he's arrested, living in that small town that whole time, 24 days before the new sheriff election. That just bothers me somehow, Lebrato said. I mean, it's not just coincidence. Like, he's saying it. I don't know. It's just so shocking to me. I have questions, says I'm local, and no, I didn't. Okay. JC Marty says, ex-attorneys, they can still be witnesses? Interesting. So then, I mean, he's saying that this has been a theory for a while of like how sketchy it is, of the timing of his arrest and all of that. Okay. Lebrato agrees with Rosie and Baldwin that the investigation into the 2017 double murders was flawed and says his team had prepared their own petition for a Franks hearing, alleging that there were problems with the information used to obtain the search warrant for Allen's home. That's scary. So they were not going to take on, the Rosie and Baldwin's Franks motion. They were going to make their own one. They themselves are like, what is going on with the search warrant and this probable cause affidavit and there's flaws in it and all of that, right? Yeah, Stefan says, we knew it 24 days before the election. Yeah, we've looked at that before, you guys. Check out the playlist if you missed it. That's scary. Okay, so ours was similar to theirs, but not the same. There were some differences, he says. Lebrato says he's handled 75 to 100 murder cases and taken 35 to 50 of them to trial, including several death penalty cases. But in his 25-year career, he's never seen a pre-trial defendant treated as harshly as Richard Allen. His hands were handcuffed to some box connected to his chest. I mean, it looked so horribly uncomfortable. I couldn't shake his hand. I couldn't have him sign anything. They refused to unshackle him for our safety. He's 120 pounds. Lebrato says he's confident that Allen is in capable hands with Rosie and Baldwin back on the case and said they are both good attorneys. Okay, that's nice. But would I have liked to stay on the case? It's a fascinating case, and it's rare that you have such a high-profile case where you honestly think you have an innocent client. Now, maybe I'm crazy thinking that. I don't know, but that's my opinion, he said. Just imagine, like, are you guys able to? I know many are, but just for a moment, it's a really scary feeling and thought. If you imagine if he really is innocent, because there are cases like that. You can't say it never happens. It does happen. That is a scary thought. Oh my goodness. So they said it's unclear how Richard Allen was notified of the change to his defense team following the Supreme Court's ruling, but Lebrato said it would be improper for him to visit Allen now. I did draft him a letter just saying this is what happened and I'm sorry. Oh, shame. Lebrato wrote to him, I'm very sorry. Richard Allen probably ate the paper again, right? Remember when he ate paper that day? Oh my word. There was that whole thing of him eating paper, like confessing and then eating paper and not eating and all kinds of things, breaking his tablet. Yeah, I don't think he was in a mentally good place that day at all. Yeah, I have questions. Says happens more than people think. Oh, my heart always breaks when I see those cases. Oh man, when you see people that have been in prison for like 40 years or something. I've just recently saw one today on X, and it's like 39 years in prison, but wrongfully convicted. I can't even. That is just, I don't know how one would mentally survive that, right? Forensic Fuhrer says the Innocence Project is proof that it happens. Yeah, let's not confuse that with the LA. The LA Innocence Project, right? Yeah, the Innocence Project is proof that it happens. Yeah, good point. So, yeah, Richard Allen he's facing 4 counts of murder and 2 counts of kidnapping in the deaths of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. The 8th graders were walking on Delphi's Monon High Bridge when they were encountered by a man who ordered them down the hill. Video found on Libby's cell phone captured 42 seconds of that encounter. Allen's trial is scheduled to begin October 15th in Carroll County, Indiana. I wish they could change not just the venue, but the entire state. Like, new judge, new state, new prosecutor. I don't know. Defense team seems all right to me at this point, right? Especially Bradley Rosie. He's so good. Okay, in my opinion, I know that Baldwin, he messed up a little bit there. He's like, and send. That was a mistake. The email mistake, right? The leaking, I think there's a lot one could discuss there. Anyway, So, Snarky Sass Angel says it's not Odin, it's God Loki. Well, if it's white supremacists taking on hijacking something, cherry picking things and making it their own, it's Odinists for them. That's why for them it's Odinism, and they're saying Odin we trust with patches on their uniforms, right? Rexy says, unfortunately, I don't think he'll get a fair trial. So leave a comment below. Do you think that Richard Allen will get a fair trial? If you're watching the replay, this is what the poll was. So let me know what you would vote, okay? Who do you suspect committed this crime, in your opinion so far? And please remember, I can only put 4 options on the poll. If I could put 5 or 6, I would. If I could put an option saying, I don't know, I would. But pick out of these 4, okay? The first option is Richard Allen alone. So do you suspect that Richard Allen is the guy? He did this. He's alone, okay? In your opinion. Second, Richard Allen and others. Third option, not Richard Allen, someone else. And the fourth one is not Richard Allen, a group of others. Okay, that's what we had on the poll, and 37% voted not Richard Allen, group of others. The second highest vote was Richard Allen and others. And then the third, Richard Allen alone. And then the last option was not Richard Allen, someone else. Very, very interesting. Sure. My goodness. Can you believe all of this? Wow. So, yeah, just when we think it's just a tiny little update, there's always lots to discuss, right? We've been here for almost an hour now. So I am going to go now. I really appreciate you being here and discussing all of this with me. Thank you so much. Yeah, Gaynor says, no fair trial. In my opinion, with Judge Gull on the case, no fair trial. And I don't know what the prosecutor's really up to half the time. I'm not sure I trust that guy. I don't think so. I don't trust this whole process. You know when people say, trust the process? Yeah, but sometimes your gut is telling you otherwise. I listen to my gut, okay? And I'm like, I don't trust what's going on here. I don't trust it at all. So if your gut feel is that you completely trust it and, everything's great here, that's fine. We can disagree. And people get so angry when it comes, especially to this case. It's like, no one may disagree, but you can. Oh my word, Defense Diaries podcast is a member. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Nice emoji choice there. Very good, very good. Thank you so much for checking out what I've got to say here as well. I'm going to check out what you've got to say. Next, you say red flag. So if you guys want a legal perspective on this case, yeah, that's where I go lurk. Defense Diaries podcast. Sometimes I say hi if it's live, and I'm there when it's live, depending on the time. But thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you being here. Please like and share so that others can also learn this information. Check out yesterday's video where I literally said, what was my thumbnail? I don't remember, but it's about McClelland, okay? Like he clapped back. So go and listen to what he's saying there, and let me know what you think about that as well. There's been many updates. Thank you, mods. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much to everyone that's made it over to Patreon. Patreon is the place to be. We have a community chat. We talk about our pets. We show pictures of all of our pets. It's really nice. And then you get lots of perks there that you don't get anywhere else. So thank you so much to everyone who's made it over there. All right, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you again very soon. I will be linking this video clip and article and everything in the description box for you. Okay, bye, everyone.